Mara Ellison had spent years staring into systems that most people never even thought about, feeds from empty buildings, forgotten cameras, silent corridors that existed only to confirm nothing was happening. That was her job, to confirm absence. So when the file labeled unregistered feed, do not archive appeared, she didn't panic. At first, the footage showed a corridor she couldn't place, too long, too clean, stretching deeper than the architecture should allow. No entry logs. No metadata. No origin. Just a live feed existing without permission, like it had always been there waiting for someone to notice it. And at the far end of that impossible hallway, something shifted just out of focus, as if aware it had finally been seen. She told herself it was a glitch. Systems like hers produced anomalies, false feeds, corrupted video loops, broken signals pretending to be real. But this wasn't broken. It was consistent. The corridor updated in real time, reacting to her actions. When she scrubbed backward, it obeyed. When she paused, it waited. And when she zoomed in, the details sharpened unnaturally, revealing markings on the walls she hadn't noticed before. Numbers. Carefully placed. Precise. Not random at all. As she watched, one of the numbers changed. Not replaced, reduced. As if something was counting down toward something it fully intended to reach, Mara escalated the feed immediately, expecting it to vanish into some higher-level review system. Instead, she received something far worse than denial, silence with instructions. Do not interact. No explanation. No context. Just a command that assumed she already understood why. That was the moment it stopped feeling like work. Because the feed didn't stop either. It adapted. The corridor camera angle subtly shifted between refreshes, repositioning itself in ways no automated system should be able to do. And for the first time, the distant end of the corridor no longer looked empty. It looked aware. By the time she opened the backup systems, it was already too late. Every mirrored feed displayed the same impossible hallway. Every terminal, every archive, every redundancy showed the same corridor repeating itself like a thought stuck in loop. The numbers on the walls were decreasing faster now, no longer following a steady rhythm but accelerating, as if something had realized it was being observed and adjusted its pace accordingly. Mara checked system integrity, expecting corruption, expecting failure, anything logical. But everything was clean. Too clean. The system wasn't broken. It was behaving exactly as it should. And that was what made it unbearable. At 2:41 a.m., the countdown reached a point where it stopped being abstract. It became immediate. All systems locked simultaneously, not crashing but yielding, as if surrendering control to something internal. The room around Mara stayed still, but the monitors did not. Every screen switched at once to the corridor feed, now perfectly centered, perfectly aligned, as if the system itself was pointing toward something important. That's when the audio activated, soft at first, barely distinguishable. Breathing. Not distorted, not recorded from distance, but close enough that it felt like it was happening just beyond the edges of her own space. Slow. Measured. Patient, she traced the signal offline, isolating fragments that shouldn't have connected but did anyway. The architecture of the feed wasn't digital in the way she understood systems, it behaved like it had structure beyond code. Anchored instead of transmitted. Placed instead of sent. And every path she followed led back to one point that made no sense at all, her own building. The realization didn't arrive with shock. It arrived with recognition, as if part of her had already known before she confirmed it. The corridor wasn't somewhere else. It was a mapped version of proximity. A version of space rewritten to include her. When Mara finally looked up, the room had changed in ways she couldn't immediately explain. Not physically distorted, just aligned differently, as if perspective itself had adjusted. Every monitor now showed her from multiple angles she shouldn't have access to. Sitting. Watching. Breathing. And behind her, in every reflection, every feed, every screen that claimed to display reality, something stood where nothing should have been able to stand for that long without being noticed. The final message appeared without input, without delay, without resistance. You only needed one shot. You used it to look. And for the first time, Mara understood that observation was never one way.